So I'm sure you've all seen about the Republicans trying to push through their budget at 1 a.m. in the morning, pushing it until the wee hours of daylight. Why are they doing this? Well, because it's the same reason that they're not holding town halls or they're throwing people out of town halls, is because they know it's bad law. They know that people don't want Medicaid and Medicare cut. They know that they don't want SNAP benefits cut. This bill is a nightmare for anyone who makes less than $350,000 a year, which is a lot of people. And so what they do is they push it through late night votes. They also bury it in messaging, and they do that in two ways. Kristen Waggoner, who's the leader of the ADF, which is the Alliance Defense Fund, if you don't know who they are a far-right alt group trying to get rid of religious freedom for anyone who's not Christian. They're the people that removed contraception from the Affordable Care Act. They're the people that defended the baker who discriminated against the gay couple. They also are the reason that the Dobbs legislation was formulated the way it was. It was modeled after one of their previous pieces of legislation. But she says we have to win back culture, but you have to do it in a winsome way. And what that means is, well, it sounds so bad when you say it that way, so I need you to lie. And so, they don't want people to have access to education. They want to defund public education because they don't support it, because they can't control it. So what do? Well, they say school choice, and they introduce school vouchers to defund public education. When it doesn't work, they can come in and privatize it and fix it. Well, it's not talking about increasing the mortality rate of both moms and infants or taking away women's medical rights. It's pro-life, even though as soon as they exit this side of the birth canal, they no longer care and don't want to feed them. So the second thing they do is they bury it in massive pieces of legislation. That's what they did in Project 2025. Project 2025 was pretty clear, but buried in flowery language, and it was 1,000 pages. The layperson's not going to read that. The same with this bill is almost 1,000 pages. I typically go and I'll read through a bill real quick, see what it's talking about. This one I haven't even had time to get through because it is so massive, and they count on that. They bury it in big legislation when they know it's really bad, so that even their opposers don't have time to read it thoroughly and might miss legislation that they've snuck in there. And then they push the vote with speed and rapidity so that hopefully they can squeak it by without it getting caught. Because we've all been on notice about Medicaid being cut and 13.7 million people losing coverage. But this bill also calls for $500 billion cut in Medicare and SNAP benefits, and people's pensions will be negatively affected. And here's the thing that kills me about it the most, is even with all those cuts, even with all the damage that does to the poor, the marginalized, the elderly, the disabled, vets, is that it doesn't even cover the expense they need to give the tax breaks they want. It is still going to put us trillions of dollars more in debt and increase the deficit by at least $4 trillion. But they don't fucking care. So they push the vote. They lie about it. They tell it in a winsome way. They bury it in legislation and hope that we won't notice. Well, I'm going to be in DC tomorrow and Friday, so hopefully I'll get some inside action on what's going on up there.